Hello there, welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the southeast. Bleak Friday, the family struggling to cope as energy bills rise by nearly £700 a year.
I think it's going to be a question of, if I can't use the heating, it's going to be jumpers and hot water bottles.
Racism in the NHS. A report reveals how widespread it still is. TV's Dr. Ranj, on a visit to Kent, tells us it must be eradicated, especially for healthcare professionals.
And get your skates on. I'm in Folkestone, where the world's biggest multi-level skate park is about to open.
Good evening. The biggest jump in domestic energy bills in living memory has come into effect, with households and businesses in the southeast bracing themselves for higher prices.
The average family will pay an increase of around £700 a year as charities warn millions will be plunged into fuel poverty. James Dunham has our report.
That's the ones where it's all going up.
The warning came a few weeks ago. Today, the reality of higher energy prices set in for Jan and millions more of us.
It really is horrific, actually.
She is 80 and lives on her own. The energy bill for her house near Gatwick is increasing this year by almost £1,000.
How worried are you about the next few months?
Quite worried. I live on a budget. So now it's just got to be made allowance for extra to put by for the heating, for all the council tax and water rates, everything, because they've always all gone up. So there isn't a great deal of things that we can actually do apart from live on a tighter budget.
Have you ever known an energy hike quite like this?
No, not as bad as this, not even during the war years, no.
A cold winter last year, placing pressure on supplies, and a reduced reliance on Russian gas have all contributed to the price hike, which has come at a painful time.
What we're seeing is the cost of housing going up, energy going up, food, also transport and taxes. So it really is coming at families all different ways. And also it's affecting everybody. So if you have a home and you're lucky enough to, well, you have a mortgage, those mortgage payments are going up. If you're renting, the rent's going up. If you have a car, petrol prices are going up. And if you're using public transport, those fares are going up too. So it's affecting millions of people in just a way we haven't seen before.
At this bubble tea business in Horsham, they anticipate feeling the squeeze.
We'll be able to manage the rise in our prices, but we obviously can't control the fact that everybody else is being squeezed, and that's probably going to mean that they're going to come here less or bring their kids here less, which obviously will have a knock-on effect on us.
This is how much the government is currently offering, £200 to be taken off energy bills in October, but the money is just a loan and will need to be paid back in instalments. Is the government doing enough, do you think?
No, not enough. They're not doing enough at all.
What would you like to see?
More help for the people that are unemployed, because I'm unemployed, as you can see, so I've got a stick and everything, but I get no help with my electricity or my gas.
I think they're in an impossible position coming out of COVID, the Ukraine crisis. I don't know what else they could do, really.
We're going to have to stay flexible for the future. I know that the Chancellor is monitoring the impact on the economy and on individuals on a daily basis. And as he did during the pandemic, I'm sure he'll be bearing that in mind as he juggles our long-term prosperity with our short-term need.
Jan plans to watch her energy use very carefully, with her finances feeling the heat. James Dunham, ITV News.
And we'll be looking at what the impact of the new energy price cap in a series of special reports means next week. Starting on Monday's ITV News Meridian, we'll find out how households across the region are feeling the pinch. We'll also investigate what's troubling you and how you could save money as the cost of living soars. That's here on ITV News Meridian on Monday.
In other news, a motorcyclist from Sussex who caused the death of his passenger after crashing while under the influence of alcohol and cocaine has been jailed. Witnesses saw 28-year-old Jack Stockdale driving his bike at high speeds in Bexhill before losing control and hitting a lamppost in March 2020. His passenger, 27-year-old Joel Vinton, was airlifted to hospital but died 4 days later. Stockdale was sentenced to 6 years in jail.
Kent Police are warning that assaults on officers will not be tolerated following more than 3,000 offences in the last 2 years. A proposal to increase the maximum prison sentence for assaults against emergency workers from 12 months to 2 years is currently being debated in Parliament.
Patients who attend A&E at the Royal Sussex County Hospital in Brighton will be screened for HIV when having routine blood tests. Anyone can opt out of the new scheme, which begins on Wednesday. It's estimated there are currently around 110 people living with undiagnosed HIV in Brighton and Hove.
South Central Ambulance Service is sending enough vital medical equipment to maintain a Ukrainian field hospital for up to 2 weeks. Volunteer teams have been collecting decommissioned medical supplies and equipment from bases, including in Sussex. Lorries are full of equipment and will help treat injured soldiers and civilians while they await emergency surgery in hospital.
Hundreds of uniformed Kent firefighters will fit and test as many smoke alarms as they can in a day of action next week. It's part of Kent Fire and Rescue Service's Fight Against Fire campaign. Crews will hit the streets and knock on doors, installing alarms for free where they are needed. Next, a man has died in rough seas on the Thanet coast. It's believed he got into difficulty trying to rescue his dog. Well, to Ramsgate now, and Andy Dickinson is there for us. Andy, what more can you tell us?
Well, Matt, it's really quite windy and cold here on the Esplanade, but yesterday it was bitterly cold and the winds tempestuous. We can show you photographs of the high tide this morning in Broadstairs, where you can clearly see waves breaking over the wall, and we believe it was around high tide yesterday when this incident occurred here in Ramsgate. Paramedics have told us they were called at approximately 11:40 a.m. to reports of a man being pulled from the sea. They attended alongside the police and the man was given emergency treatment at the scene before being taken to hospital in a life-threatening condition. Sadly, he died later in hospital. It's thought that he had been trying to rescue his dog from the water before getting into trouble himself. This is what the local RNLI had to say to us this afternoon.
Our hearts really do go out to the friends and family of those that have lost their lives. And in terms of advice to people visiting the coast, particularly during periods of stormy weather, our advice is to stay well back from a storm-driven sea. Look, there's a few things in nature as awe-inspiring as the sea driven by a storm, but it can and does have real potential to cause harm. It can wash people from promenades, from jetties, even from the beach.
Well, the people on social media have also been passing on their condolences to the family involved. The weather here set to remain cold, but the winds thankfully expected to be less treacherous tomorrow.
Andy Dickinson in Ramsgate for us. Thank you very much.
The Insolvency Service has started formal criminal and civil investigations into the decision by P&O Ferries to sack nearly 800 workers. The government announced the decision this afternoon. For the latest now, let's cross to Nikki Woodcock, who's in our newsroom. Nikki.
Yes, this announcement came on Twitter from the Business Secretary Kwasi Kwarteng. He posted a letter from the Insolvency Service confirming that it had started both formal and criminal investigations into the circumstances surrounding the recent redundancies by P&O Ferries. The letter from the Chief Executive of the service, Dean Beale, stated that while the investigations are ongoing, it would not be appropriate for him to make any further comments. Well, 786 workers were laid off. Today was the final day for them to accept the redundancy terms offered by P&O, and many of them have not accepted the offer.
It has now been 2 weeks since P&O Ferries have been able to use their boats. What's happening to them?
Well, the situation is not good. The P&O ferries remain in harbour. DFDS ferries have been taking some of the P&O traffic, but it has limited capacity. And as a result, miles of lorry queues have been building up in Operation Brock on the M20. It's led to delays of up to 18 hours. And in the sub-zero conditions East Kent has been enduring this week, that's been hard on drivers. And it's not just freight affected. We were contacted by passengers trying to get from Dover this morning for the Easter holidays, who told us they've been waiting almost 20 hours to be transferred from P&O to DFDS ferries. Well, DFDS told us our people have for the past couple of weeks been working so hard to handle the extra freight and passengers, but we now need to give our staff a break. We need to make sure that they can handle our own traffic, especially in the run-up to the very busy Easter period. Well, seems there's no end in sight to this dispute, and if anything, the queues could get worse.
Nikki in our newsroom, thank you.
Now you're watching ITV News in the Meridian region. Coming up on the programme.
Goodbye to Jeff, a World War II veteran with a most remarkable history.
And we've had a good dose of wintry weather, hail, sleet, snow. Tonight it's frosty. How long will this cold weather last? I'll have your full forecast.
And for more on all of our stories, of course, today you can go to our website, itv.com/Meridian is the address. You can give us a call, or you can, of course, follow us online.
The chair of the British Medical Association has told ITV News there is systematic racism within the NHS. A survey conducted by the union reveals that 90% of ethnic minority staff working in the health service believe that racism is a problem.
Well, the same report reveals that view is also shared by more than half of white NHS staff. Amani Khan's report starts with the experience of an NHS doctor whose words are spoken by an actor.
Nobody should come to work thinking, I'm going to be undermined because of my skin colour or my sex, you know. It shouldn't be that way. My gender and my skin colour should have nothing to do with how good of a doctor I am.
Swati, not her real name, says she endured years of racism when she was a junior doctor. Not only from patients, but in fact from a senior consultant colleague too.
Say he was in an operating theatre and somebody like me would be on the rota to go to his theatre. He would sometimes literally push me out, physically out of the theatre, saying, well, why are you here? Go and send such and such, who would be a white male trainee who would be rostered to be elsewhere. When he behaved in that way, I kind of thought, what am I going to face for the rest of my life here? Is it worth putting up with this?
But Swati is one of many who say they are experiencing racism within the medical profession. Earlier this year, the British Medical Association released an interim report into racism in the NHS that found that of the 2,000 doctors surveyed, more than 7 in 10 said they experienced racism at least once in the last 2 years, with almost 2 in 10 saying they experience racist incidents on a regular basis.
What's also really worrying about the report is that 20% of doctors from ethnic minorities say they want to leave the health service because of their experience of racism. Now that would be devastating at this moment in time when the NHS is facing probably its biggest ever challenge of a huge backlog of care. So we really need to address this problem, to retain doctors, make them feel motivated, included and treated fairly.
A NHS England spokesperson told us they are supporting NHS trusts and systems to advance race equality and implement improvement measures, including inclusive recruitment and leadership development. Swati regrets not speaking out.
I wish I had reported it officially, and how many other people would I have stopped from feeling the way I feel. I wish somebody had taken the time to sit with me and my other colleagues to see whether it had happened to others, and then addressed it with him and made him aware that his behaviour was not correct, rather than saying, oh, he will retire shortly.
The British Medical Association interim report suggests that 3/4 of minority ethnic doctors who experienced racism chose not to speak out due to a lack of confidence and a fear of the impact it would have on their career. The full report will be published later this year. Amani Khan, ITV News.
Well, let's talk now to Dr. Ranj Singh, who many of you, of course, will recognise from his work as a broadcaster. Dr. Ranj, some shocking figures in that report there. How do you react to the BMA's acknowledgement that there is systemic racism and prejudice within the NHS?
Well, I don't think there's any person of colour out there who hasn't experienced some form of racism at some point. And systemic and structural racism are certainly not unique to the NHS. You see them in lots of organisations. But that doesn't matter. It still has to be dealt with, and it's something, especially in healthcare, we have to work to remove for the best of patients and our staff.
Now, we're talking to you today from your old school in Rochester, Gordon Road Children's Academy, where I know you've been talking to children. And in terms of what we were just discussing, positive role models and education from a young age is really important, isn't it?
Absolutely. When I was growing up, I was at this school about 35 odd years ago. I didn't see people on screen or in the public eye who looked like me. And the power of role models in terms of inspiring kids is hugely important. So I've come here today to speak to the children to say, look, I used to be one of you and I'm out here doing X, Y and Z. And I've also written a book about things that will help you be amazing.
Yeah, in terms of being that role model, you can add published author now to that list of achievements. Just give us a brief synopsis of what the book's about.
Yes, so the book is Brain Power, and essentially it's aimed at 7 to 11-year-olds. It's the ultimate learning, brain training and mental health guide for kids. And we know that's hugely important right now, especially given the last 2 years and the impact it's had on children across the board. I think anything that we can do to help them back up, to remind them how amazing they actually are and fulfill their potential is really important.
And are children, even at the age we're talking about at the school where you are they more receptive than they used to be, maybe even before the pandemic, to the issues around mental health and mental well-being?
I think children understand a lot more than we give them credit for, and they notice a lot more about the world and people around them. And they're probably noticing people having mental health difficulties and all sorts of other, I suppose, sequelae of the pandemic. I think it's important to talk to them about it, be honest, be open, reassure them as much as you can. And when you don't have the answers, go with them and get the help that they need.
Dr. Ranj, we have to leave it there, but fantastic to talk to you on the programme today. Thank you.
Thank you.
A World War II veteran from the Isle of Grain who survived some of the conflict's biggest battles has died, aged 102.
Jeff Howard reported for duty at the age of 18 and fought from Dunkirk to D-Day. Sarah Saunders reports from Gravesend.
A guard of honour in Gravesend to bid farewell to Jeff Howard. Beloved father, friend and World War II soldier, he died aged 102.
He was just an absolute character, great sense of humour, great person to be around. We must remember them because they are a special generation.
With the Middlesex Regiment, Jeff survived the horrors of Dunkirk and fought through the din of El Alamein and D-Day after enlisting at the age of 18.
Were you keen to get involved? Were you afraid? How did you feel?
Bloody frightened.
I met Jeff when he was just 101. He described arriving at the beaches of Dunkirk.
We waded out into the sea. I was up to my waist, and of course there were no boats there. As soon as it came light, over came the Luftwaffe, machine gun and that. We were like sitting ducks in the waters.
The veteran and his nephew wrote a book together, bringing to life the noise, danger and loss of Jeff Howard's war and revealing his dry sense of humour throughout.
Even though they were very serious incidents, he always put a funny lilt to them. He just had this aura about him to me as a kid, you know. And probably I've never lost that. I mean, there's no doubt he was a brave man, but he would never say so, you know. Lots of people would always come up to him and say thank you for what you did, and his famous reply would always be, you know, I wasn't alone, you know.
Jeff Howard leaves behind him 2 sons, a life well lived and a record of what he and his generation endured. Sarah Saunders, ITV News.
And so grateful for his story. The ITV Evening News continues here with the national and international news at 6:30 with more Charlene White.
The cost of living crisis deepens with warnings millions of households could be sent into the red. The biggest rise in energy bills in living memory kicked in today, and the increases aren't going to end there. So what more can be done to help? Russia accuses Ukraine of carrying out an attack on an oil depot on its home soil. COVID cases in the UK reach a record high, but how concerned should we be? And it's the World Cup draw in Qatar. England, Scotland and Wales are all involved. We'll have all the reaction. Those stories and more from 6:30.
The new county championship season starts next week, and both Kent and Sussex are in the hunt for trophies.
Small businesses and local teams, the heart of our communities. eBay sponsors ITV Regional Sport Reports.
Kent are ready for the new season on all fronts, from the county championship campaign to the Royal London Cup competition to trying to retain the T20 Blast.
When you do win something, you want more of it, and I think certainly the lads had the taste for it last year winning the T20. It was a fantastic period for us to actually get a trophy in the bank for the first time in a long time. So now we want to try and recreate that, and the championship, I guess, is always the one that you really want to focus on, I suppose, in some ways, and that's been a long time coming.
In Hove, Sussex are ready to challenge Kent for that T20 trophy. The photo shoot done for another year in every different shade. Ravi Bopara says his white ball Warriors believe they can come out on top.
I truly believe with the squad of players that I've inherited as skipper, I think we can go on and win the trophy. I've always thought that, even looking at Sussex over the last 4 or 5 years, we'll definitely be gunning for that trophy this year with the team that we've got.
Back in Canterbury, Kent are hoping fans will fill the Spitfire ground as they look to win the county championship for the first time since 1978, as well as defend that T20 crown.
Yeah, I think we're the hunted now, aren't we? So it's going to be a great challenge. It's an honour to obviously have won it last year. So the goal is always to win again, and especially in the county championship as well. We want as much silverware as possible. Whether it happens or not will be up to us, but we'll definitely give it our best shot.
Sussex host Nottinghamshire in their first county championship match starting on Thursday, with the T20 Blast beginning in May.
There's a little bit of anxiety about how it might start naturally, but deep down there is that excitement of really seeing what these guys can do over the next few years.
Whatever way you colour it, Kent and Sussex are ready to brighten up our summer. And the start of the cricket season, of course, means the end of the football season is fast approaching. Just 8 or 9 games to go for our sides, starting tomorrow with Brighton looking to end a 6-match losing streak against bottom of the table Norwich, while Gillingham hope to continue their fantastic form at Sunderland. Crawley are not in action. But we'll have the best of the action from the football and the cricket on Monday night.
I'll be back on Monday. Actually, no, I'm not in on Monday.
I will. Well, you'll be watching though.
I'll watch it from home. Exactly. That's what I'll be doing.
Right on.
Bad planning.
Now, it's billed as the world's first multi-level skate park where skateboarders, rollerbladers and cyclists can all train in one building.
Yes, F51 in Folkestone opens to the public on Monday, where beginners and professionals can try out the different surfaces on 4 separate levels. The centre also includes the Southeast's highest climbing wall. Tom Savidis sent this.
It may look like I'm standing in an empty swimming pool, but I am in fact in F51, Folkestone's newest skate park, which is billed as the biggest multi-level skate park in the world. This amazing building has been designed by Guy Holloway, the architect. Guy, what is the idea behind this venue?
We wanted to put a skate park in the heart of a town, and to say this building is for you, you're the most important people in the town because you're going to be the future.
But it's not just about skating, is it?
Well, it's skating on multiple levels. So we've got a concrete bowl which is inspired from California, so if you're a young kid you can skate that here. And then we've got a street floor which is entry level, and a flow part which is super graduating and learning.
And other facilities as well?
Oh my God, we've got a climbing wall which is 15 metres tall, and it's the tallest climbing wall in southeast of England.
Well, let's talk to some of the people who use this skate park. People like Alex Frost, who works it but is also a skater. What does it mean for people like you?
It's incredible. We've now got a new home, a new hub, and it's for all skaters, all skate park sports. any walk of life. If you can ride it in a skate park safely, you can ride it here. We're incredibly lucky where we're managed by the Trust as well, that we are able to do generous sort of things for the local community, like we can give out a £1 membership for local kids so they can come and access the skate park under that. It's incredible. There's never been anything like this sort of in Kent, so we're all the world in terms of sort of its unique design. So yeah, we're really lucky.
Very energetic for those who want to come along.
Extremely energetic, yeah, and very loud, as you can probably tell. But that's nature of skate park sports.
Well, good luck with everything when this venue opens on Monday. All I've got to say now is you at home, get your skates on.
Tommy, thanks very much, but we were all right sat down here, taking it easy. I feel quite safe.
Why didn't he have a go?
Well, I know why he didn't, because,
Health and safety.
Yeah, but do you know what? Seriously, great facility for Folkestone and gives loads of young people something to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's get a check on the weather forecast for the weekend ahead with the details for us this evening. Here's Holly.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Good evening. We've continued to see wintry showers around for today. This was the way the day started in Hastings. Some real good snowflakes falling there. As we head through this weekend, still this chance of some wintry showers, but I think fewer and further between. Some sunshine to be had, but we've still got this cold air in place. So expect temperatures to be on the low side for the time of year, and also expect some frost and potentially a few icy patches around as well. So the bigger picture shows this cold air mass in place. As I say, some wintry showers initially, but as higher pressure builds in, they do tend to be killed off. Into early next week, though, weather front approaches. It's a warm front. It brings some outbreaks of rain for a time and some milder air, which is with us for a little while. Out there at the moment, then, well, still some wintry showers in places. By wintry, I mean hail, sleet, snow, a mixture really. Also, we could see some icy patches. Temperatures really plummet away for tonight, locally -3, -4, so a widespread frost on the cards, and some mist and fog is likely too. So as you push into tomorrow morning, it's this cold start, it's this frosty start, a few icy patches, a bit of mist and fog, some sunshine, but as more cloud bubbles up, it does generate a few showers, and again, they could have a bit of sleet, a bit of hail, maybe an odd rumble of thunder. Otherwise, some bright weather to be had. Temperatures a little higher, I think, than today, and those winds not as strong either. So I think just feeling that bit less cold, obviously with this cold air mass still with us. So some cold nights on the way, frosty nights to come. Those wintry showers still in the mix for Saturday, maybe a few on Sunday, but fewer around in general. Cloud though thickens through the day, unsettled but milder for the beginning of next week.
Valent sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
So you've got to either skateboard or rollerblade. Which one are you going to have a go at first?
Neither.
Neither.
Sorry.
No, maybe not.
Really lethargic. It's the weekend. I'm going to sit on the sofa and watch telly. Have a great weekend. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I suppose these chairs...